Dead puppies. Dead puppies. Dead puppies aren't much fun. They don't come when you call. They don't chase squirrels at all. Dead puppies aren't much fun. My puppy died late last fall. He's still rotting in the hall. Dead puppies aren't much fun. No, no, no. Mom says puppy's days are through. She's going to throw him in the stew. Dead puppies aren't much fun. Dead puppies, dead, 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 dead puppies. Dead puppies aren't much fun. Come on, everybody out there, sing along, okay? Dead, 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 dead puppies. Dead, 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 dead.
Praise be to He.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We're gonna get back into some wildfire stuff here. We got some more Gavin Newsom interviews that are just embarrassing for him for the most part. But yeah, this is an America First channel. I just started doing this. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you're mad. I played Dead Puppies.
Nobody tells
Don't
DJ
be a
Request
girl,
what
don't
to
be
play.
mad. Or be mad. But if you're America First, just do them things and press the buttons anyway. Stop being a little baby. Don't be a baby. But before we check out Gavin Newsom, we're gonna hear from The View. Whoopi Goldberg is gonna set the table for us. After that, we're going to hear from Gavin Newsom. We're going to hear from the water company that runs the Santa Ynez Reservoir that's at the Palisades, closest reservoir to the Palisades. We're going to get to the truth of it. Let's see.
Having lived in California, having lost every house save for one that we ever lived in, I take great offense at pointing fingers. You should be pointing fingers about how can we help?
Yeah.
It's too soon to be saying, oh, it's Gavin's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's like us taking seriously that there are, magic lasers in the sky that direct the weather. That doesn't work. It doesn't happen. This is a catastrophe, and this is what's happened. And let's try to figure out how to work towards not having it happen again. But, we don't control Mother Nature. Mother Nature doesn't give a damn what we want. Mother Nature does what she does, and if you're in the way, this is what happens. And California is chock full of people.
Oh, that's super interesting. So Whoopi Goldberg has lost every home she has ever owned in California, save for one. And she thinks nothing could have been done. Absolutely nothing. She knows all about it. She knows this can't be a political issue. It certainly isn't Democrats' fault. This is a natural disaster that nothing can be done for. And it just happens. Even though they predict the Santa Ana winds that come and they prepare and know that wildfires are going to happen. This happens very often. And I wonder what's holding them back. We know that they are not doing proper controlled burns, prescribed burns, and they are not doing brush clearing the way that they should. The first thing I'm going to look into is the controlled burns, the prescribed burns. I'm not sure about brush clearing. Obviously, that's something different. But the actual prescribed burns need to be happening a lot, and they are not. And this is the main reason for that. Okay, we'll get back to Whoopi Goldberg and her idiotic statements in just a second. And she's basically wanting to give a pass to Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, and every Democrat involved with doing nothing, or whatever the case is, inaction, action, causing this to be much worse than what it would be. They know Santa Ana winds are coming. They know prescribed burns need to happen. They know all these things. Yet this is what we do in California. Okay. This article is from Newsweek. It was about a week ago. How red tape strangled California forest management before LA fires. Now, this is a big deal. Now, these politicians have everything to do with the policies that get enacted in California. Now, in this article, just like always, in the description, there'll be links with links attached to everything for every source that I use. So if you want to check out these articles yourself, everything will be down in the description. So the Forest Service has been warning of a forest health crisis of tremendous proportions for more than 2 decades. In its own 2022 report, the agency said that 73 million acres of national forests are at risk from severe wildland fires that threaten human safety and ecosystem integrity. Um, the reason they've been warning that is because of everything that they go through trying to do. That's the Forest Service is who does the brush clearings. That's who does the prescribed burns. Okay. Now, they talk about the fire and everything, but we'll forget about all the stats. We know what's really going on there as far as like which fires are still burning, all that kind of stuff, all the stats. We don't need to get into all that. That's a video for another day. So, with that said, I'll just let me read you a story. There's no denying that wildfires are getting worse. And if lawmakers want to get serious about fighting them, they need to make sure we have every possible tool at our disposal, including proven tactics like controlled burns, Durrari said. We can't let something as serious as this get lost in red tape. Mother Nature does not wait for court battles or paperwork to finish, and forests will continue to burn, threatening livelihoods in the meantime. Prescribed fires are a critical tool to preventing catastrophic wildfires. Such controlled burning helps reduce the intensity of future fires because it eliminates brush and other flammable materials, also known as ladder fuels. That helps the fires climb up from the ground to tree canopies where fires become more destructive and spread faster. But in order for these prescribed fires to occur, they must go through the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, I don't know how to say that, review process, which can last anywhere from 3.6 years to 7.2 years between the time of initiation to when the burning can actually begin, according to a 2022 policy brief from the PERC, from the Property and Environment Research Center. Now, that's just one part of it. This is the other side of it that's just crazy. Now, think about that for a second. They find an area that is, let's say they found an area in the Palisades over this past year or two with a lot of dead trees and a lot of ladder fuel involved, and the Forest Service goes, "Okay, we need to get this cleared. We need to get this handled." That process through the court system to deal with NEPA can take anywhere from 3.6 years to 7.2 years. And we know these wildfires burn every couple years, they have one burn through. Do you think if they had a serious issue, they need to do a controlled burn for an area that is known to have an issue via the Forest Service, and it's going to take 3.6 to 7.2 years to even start burning that area, and Santa Ana winds are predicted in 3 weeks? What do they do? What do you think is gonna happen? Okay, so and that led to them over 2 decades ago warning. Over 2 decades ago, they warned that this is going to cause a major, major catastrophe at some point, and it's been happening in little tiny bursts here and there. I'm almost done reading the story to you. The other side of this, other than NEPA, is the CAA, the Clean Air Act, which is basically gonna be for the entire country and us wanting to not, exceed that stuff, and each state needs to do their own part. Of course it does. Okay, now let me go back into it. Unfortunately, the Forest Service operates within a statutory, regulatory, and administrative framework that has kept the agency from effectively addressing rapid declines in forest health, the report said. Forest Service officials have estimated that planning and assessment consume a full 40% of the agency's total direct work at the national forest level, and that those efforts cost the Forest Service more than $250 million every year. So each election cycle, the Forest Service wastes $1 billion on cutting through red tape and going to court and paying lawyers to try to have prescribed burns. Quote, although some planning is obviously necessary, Forest Service officials have estimated that improving administrative procedures could shift up to $100 million a year from unnecessary planning to actual project work to restore ecosystems and deliver services on the ground, the agency said in its report. Here's the other side of it. The Clean Air Act gives them obstacles as well. While wildfire smoke is often classified as an exceptional event and exempt from penalties under these standards, smoke from prescribed burns does not always receive the same leniency, Gerari said. Now, Gerari is a person from the Forest Service, I believe. This means that land management agencies may avoid conducting prescribed burns to prevent exceeding air quality limits despite their long term benefits in reducing catastrophic wildfire risk. Lawmakers have introduced legislation that would allow for more controlled burning, but because no laws have been passed, environmental red tape has continued to present challenges to proactive fire management. I didn't read this, but what is it? Oregon Democratic Senator Ron Wyden introduced the National Prescribed Fire Act of 2024 in May. The bill, which proposes a $300 million investment in hazardous fuels management and aids to ramp up prescribed burns on federal lands, will need to be reintroduced and begin its journey anew with the start of a new Congress. So this guy prescribed this bill in May of 2024, and it's sat on desks for the past year, and to the point where Congress has now been changed over, and they're going to have to reintroduce it again. A bunch of people sitting on their hands, a bunch of politicians sitting on their hands. So, okay, let me just see who the person I've been quoting this whole time is Tara Jarari, the Director of Economic Analysis at the Chamber of Progress. Okay. So that's who she is. Just so you know. I thought she was with the Forest Service. Guess I was wrong. I didn't read this entire article. I saw those couple bullet points and I was like, "Oh my god. Oh my god." So, anyway, sorry to have to read all that to you. I thought a lot of times I just give you the article and just give you like the headline and say, "Hey, it's in the description." And I don't know if anyone's going there. This is so important. I just figured, you know what? It's story time. I'm reading. I'm reading this. It is what it is. I don't always read you bedtime stories, but sorry if you don't like listening to me read, or if you think I'm an idiot and read terribly or whatever it is. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you through that. It's just this thing got me really angry, and I had a progressive little bot come to my channel and say, "Stop it with the little kid shit. Stop making fun. This is the we nothing happened. This is anyone could have made these mistakes. This is ridiculous. This little kid shit is proposing a bill that would stop these wildfires that happen on a regular basis in California and letting it sit on desks for a year, and to the point where we're right back in the same situation where everyone's like, "Why how did we let this happen? Could we allow this?" And it's just like, well, what about these things? What about these people that are screaming out, "We'd love to burn," and, they walk into the forest and say, "Hey, there's a gigantic area of dead trees, and we have Santa Ana winds coming. Man, we should burn that." 5 years later, they're it might get approved through court. What? Okay, no, I'm gonna jump right look, the article's in the description. You wanna read it? Read it. It is what it is, man. I didn't, uh, whatever. Anyway, we're gonna get to Gavin Newsom and Whoopi. We got a couple more things Whoopi's gonna do, but it's gonna lead into the Gavin Newsom thing where he said that all of the qualifier state-run reservoirs. He said, now we're gonna get to the water issue, why it ran out of water, okay? And this big gigantic lie, and why Gavin Newsom continues to say every reservoir. No, you can tell he's not saying every reservoir was full and in perfect condition in California. He's saying every state-run reservoir. Okay. Let's see if he has to eat crow, or if that technicality and that qualifier saves him. Do you think a qualifier saves him? Or do you think maybe he could have done something more? Let's see. Something that I didn't bring up during the screen grab story time I read to you. I thought that was super interesting. That's why I read it to you. I hope you agree. I don't know. Tell me in the comments you think that was stupid. Should I never read again? Am I a little retarded? Should I never read again? Okay. Anyway, could you imagine what the Forest Service could do if they didn't spend $1 billion each election cycle on on cutting through red tape to try to burn the forest, and spend what they estimate, as they know they're still going to have to cut through some red tape. They think that it would free up 2/3 of the money that they spend on that nonsense. Also, another thing that was on there that I didn't read, it also takes 40% of the Forest Service staff just in court battles to have it burned. So you have 40% of their staff that they have to pay going towards just court battles, doing nothing for the forest. So the Forest Service goes and finds out all the horrible things that are happening in the forest, report them to their higher ups, and then half of their staff is just in court battles, locked up, spending $1 billion every 4 years on on court battles trying to make the things happen so people don't lose their entire lives and have to start over. So, what do you think they could have done with $100 million a year in action? $100 million a year. No, nothing could be done. Democrats aren't at fault. It's no one's fault. Nothing bad happened. This is just all this happens all the time. There's nothing you could do. I heard them say that there's absolutely nothing they can do to stop these things. It's going to happen no matter what, and just we basically just give up and just it's just gonna we're just gonna get burned out every once in a while. They're acting like it's tornadoes or it's hurricanes, and it's like, well, when a tornado touched down, there's not you can when a forest fire starts, there's nothing you could have done ever, not before, not $100 million a year couldn't have helped this. And according to all these people that are all these politicians that are in trouble, all the water in the world wouldn't have helped either, right? I guess. So before The View gives a pass to Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, and every Democrat politician that runs California to say, No matter what would have happened, these fires would have still started." Yes, that's true, because there needed to be action well before you are told Santa Ana winds are coming and going to start wildfires. You needed to do something before that happened. All that. Okay, anyway, this is the interview about the water that played on The View. This is what they chose to play on The View, and I'll play you the direct sentence after this sentence. Here you go.
I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us.
Here's how this works. There was a fire catastrophe in California. Had to do with winds. You know how they're always saying, oh, the wind. It actually
does the winds move things? And
sparks move things. And it doesn't matter how much water you have if 900,000 buildings go up at the same time. Now,
Oh, well, that changes everything. Whoopi just told us what really happened. I get it. It must be hard to put out a fire whenever 900,000 buildings start on fire at the same exact time. Is that what happened, Whoopi? Wow. Misinformation is bad. Okay. So let me ask you this. Do you think there was more to that interview? Gavin Newsom seemed to slide a qualifier in there. I think he made a mistake. He said every reservoir in California is in perfect operating condition and full. Every state-run reservoir is in operating condition and full. Every state-run. Couldn't have been any question, any pushback on that, right? Misinformation view? There couldn't have been more context of what he just said? No? Okay.
I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate.
Oh, interesting. So he slipped that state-run qualifier in there because he made a mistake and didn't say it the first time, huh? So he had to qualify. He meant state-run reservoirs. Because if there was a reservoir that was empty, you know, like that services the Palisades, but it was a local reservoir that's owned by a water company and not the state government, and that reservoir, just happened to be empty since February of 2024. I believe they get the cover repaired. It's irrelevant. But since February 2024, this reservoir was empty. Let's say it was empty, and let's say it serviced the Palisades. It was called the Santa Ynez Reservoir, and if it was like crazy close to like where the first fire started in the Palisades, and they had a reservoir that they had available to, you know, put that fire out, maybe 27,000 plus acres wouldn't have burned, and maybe it wouldn't be at like 23% containment still right now on January 16th at 9:37 PM. So, you know, maybe that reservoir wouldn't have done anything. But I can tell you one thing for sure, the view Gavin Newsom and him saying state-run reservoirs instead of just reservoirs means because the state didn't own that reservoir, nothing could have been done. That water company would not have communicated or done anything to help the state government when Santa Ana winds were predicted to come through the Palisades to make sure that they were wildfire ready, not just wildfire ready. The state government couldn't do anything. They couldn't communicate with that water company. They couldn't ask questions. That reservoir holds 100 and I believe 17 million gallons of water, and it was empty. Huh, interesting. And you know what? As far as the View editing that clip, I can do it too. You wanna see? Watch this.
I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full.
See? No big deal. I can do the same thing the View does. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, said that every reservoir was full. Forget that qualifier about it being state-run, because this reservoir that's super duper close to the first fire that started everything, you know, that fire, that reservoir wouldn't have helped because water doesn't matter. Water wouldn't have helped. And then Gavin Newsom, he tweets out because Fox News ran an article that said that Gavin Newsom cut the fire budget by $100 million just a year before this fire started. So in 2024, he cut $100 million. And he said that's a ridiculous lie. We've doubled the size of our firefighting army, built the world's largest aerial firefighting fleet, and increased the force management tenfold since taking office. Time to serve these folks the facts. And then X immediately applied a community note on it that says the 2024-25 California state budget signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom in June 2024 reduced funding by $101 million. So that's a ridiculous lie. He better serve these folks some facts. Fact check, fact check. But this guy, yeah, I mean, I guess I can edit stuff that's like that too, right? That just said they cut his qualifier out, right? Is that allowed, or am I gonna get in trouble? Am I gonna go to timeout? All right. There's a liberal Hivemind video that I took some clips from. A couple of those screenshots were from. You already know who he is, but if you don't, his channel will be in the description. If you want to check him out, go check out his stuff. If you never heard of him, I'd be shocked if you're watching this and haven't heard of him. But I'm sure he doesn't need my help. But his shit will be down in the description as well. But yeah, we're gonna move to, he had a video up there too that kind of had somebody on the ground at this Santa Ynez reservoir to talk about it. So let's see that. Let's see somebody on the ground, not someone like Gavin Newsom, not Whoopi Goldberg, not people that want to lie to try to save face. Let's just hear from somebody that lives right next to this reservoir and lives in the area, because Gavin Newsom wants to say that basically they're at it's that qualifier, that whole state-run reservoir there is all full, even though this one would have saved lives and saved acres and acres of and just it would have just saved lives, guys. It just would have saved lives. It and basically, what you need to understand is this, because that reservoir is owned by a water company, the government couldn't do anything in anticipation of these wildfires that were predicted. A 100, and no matter how much water you have, according to Whoopi Goldberg, 1 million buildings went up in fire, but the Palisades burnt. The Santa Ynez Reservoir holds 117 million gallons of water. Let me just put it in perspective for you. A standard size swimming pool, I don't know what that is, a 4-foot swimming pool, a 4-foot, deep swimming pool, a basic swimming pool, holds 18 to 20,000 gallons of water. 117 million gallons of water divided by 20,000 is just under 6,000 swimming pools, standard size swimming pools. You think if the Palisades, just the Palisades alone, if they had 6,000 swimming pools full of water to dump on fire and dump on, ladder fuels, do you think they maybe would have saved some lives and saved some stuff? And let's make this clear. I want to make one thing clear. Because it's owned by a water company and the government did absolutely nothing to reach out to that water company to try to fill that reservoir with storm water that they let wash out to the ocean. They did absolutely nothing to try to do that because it's not state run. Nobody's in trouble. Gavin's not in trouble. Karen Bass isn't in trouble. Nobody's in trouble. No politicians are in trouble. They did everything they possibly could. That reservoir that had 117 million gallons of water that normally would be on tap, being empty since February of 2024, 6,000 swimming pools of water, that wouldn't have helped, you idiot. You freaking right-wing MAGA. Just you're dumb, idiot. You just don't understand.
This was supposed to be the water to put out the Palisades fire. This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. When they first started fighting the Palisades fire, they ran out of water extremely quickly. Wednesday, 3 a.m., they were basically out. And there's been a lot of talk on why this happened. So how long has this reservoir been empty for? Since February of last year.
And what you saw pictured on screen is the Santa Ynez Reservoir, which some people are suggesting isn't the same one from the Palisades fire, but yes, it is. There's no such thing as the Palisades Reservoir, which is what most people are referring to online. It's the Santa Ynez Reservoir, as pictured here on Google Maps, right next to an indication of the Palisades fire. So reports on the ground are telling us that the reservoir is dry, and it's been dry, supposedly, since February of last year. So who do we believe? It seems like the Democrats share the view that you should only believe things that come out of their mouths, and anything else is disinformation. But I don't know, I prefer to believe my eyes, my ears, I prefer to believe the evidence, and it's looking to me currently like Adam Schiff might be full of it. The reports currently are that the Santa Ynez Reservoir has been empty for quite some time, despite California experiencing record rainfall in the not-so-distant past.
Now, I'm going to make it clear why Gavin Newsom made that qualifier of state-run reservoirs. What if I told you that a board member on a water company in California says that it is normal and commonplace for local reservoirs to go offline? I don't know if that means empty. He used the word offline. Water company reservoirs go offline during the winter months in California because the water demand is way down compared to the summer months and spring months. Because their water demand is so high in the summer, they normally operate at a crazy capacity and go crazy maximum all the time during those months. In the wintertime, it's commonplace for these reservoirs to be low and run dry and be offline. That wouldn't be state-run reservoirs, that would be, like, water companies and things like that all over California. So, not only was that the case in the Santa Ynez Reservoir that would have 117 million gallons of water would have absolutely helped the Palisades stay not completely burnt to a crisp. But I something tells me there's other reservoirs locally that are privately owned by water companies that were also not online or not full or not ready to go for these wildfires when they are predicted. And make no mistake, whenever these winds come in, these wildfires are predicted. And then whenever you go, let's just hear from the water guy just real quick, and we'll button this up.
Now, officials with the Department of Water and Power acknowledged that if the reservoir had been up and running, they may have been able to keep water pressure longer or been able to distribute water more effectively, at least at the beginning of the outbreak. But look, I am not an expert in this. My next guest definitely is. For 35 years, Robert Gompers has been a board member of the Lincoln Avenue Water Company, which supplies water to the Altadena region of California that has been destroyed by the fire. Thanks very much for being here. Appreciate it. All right, so how big a deal is it that this reservoir was empty and under repair?
Well, I can't speak for the LA County Waterworks District that works the Palisades area, but it's not unusual in the water industry to take their reservoirs and other major facilities out of service during the winter months because water demand is down typically during those months. Many water agencies do that.
Not only was the Santa Ynez Reservoir on Gavin Newsom's mind, that's why he said state-run and had to go back and correct himself and qualify it as state-run reservoirs were full and online and ready to go. Because this guy that sits on the board of a water company in California said that it's commonplace and normal for local reservoirs to go offline and not be full during the winter months because the water demand is very low during the winter months compared to the other times of the year, and they take a little bit of a break because, I mean, maybe they should. But at the same time, when these Santa Ana winds are predicted, and that's what sparks these wildfires, Show me one Democrat politician that reached out to any water company and said, "Hey, do you happen to have any reservoirs that are offline or not totally full right now that we'd be able to use our amazing aerial firefighting units that, we bolstered so much over the last couple years," like Gavin said, to fly in some water and drop some water off to these places before these potential fires start? Is it I mean, worst case scenario is what's let's say the wildfires don't happen and the place has to drain the water. Oh no. Oh no. It's the thing you do anyway. Trillions of gallons of water you let go out to the to the sea anyway. So you having to drain water if the wildfires don't come, would that have been a big deal? No, of course not. This is the leadership has failed. I'm going to say that in conjunction between progressive Democrat policies and laws that have come up over the last couple of decades, especially with environmentalists and conservationists, especially in California, that this crisis was on its way. The fire, the Forest Service told you that this was going to happen. NEPA and the CAA, in conjunction between those two and Democrat politicians that run California and create these policies and these laws, have destroyed California. That's what it is, and we can go all the way down to the homeless guy that's got that hobo fentanyl meth that started it. That's fine, whatever it is, that guy started it, some homeless people, whatever, it doesn't matter what started it, whether it was just winds or natural disaster, it's irrelevant. Democrat leaders that run California are leaders. They should have been leading. If you bring me them and you show me a phone call from Gavin calling a single water company saying, "Can you reach out to all your water companies and see if there's any reservoirs offline that we could potentially store water in case wildfires happen?" Then everyone's off the hook. Then okay, you did your job. You did at least something. And maybe not completely off the hook, but off the hook as far as this water goes. As far as NEPA goes and the CAA and all that stuff, and that your fire service and your forest service trying to tell you for so long that this stuff was going to happen and just ignoring it. Donald Trump told you was going to happen. It happens constantly, but it never got this far out of control. And you've done nothing. You've done absolutely nothing. And that's the truth. And then whenever everything comes around and California moms are honking your nose in the street because you're like, "Ah, ah, 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 ah," and getting stuck in liar's loop with Anderson, Pooper, and all this stuff that happens, it's just like, dude, you did nothing. You just keep appealing to local officials. "Well, I'm going to find out. I'm going to launch an investigation into that. That's what I said. That's what I said. I thought we should have more water." It's just like, dude, you're the governor of the state, and I'm in my pajamas in my living room, and I'm like, "Hey, you know what? I wonder if I ran California and I was told wildfires that happen constantly, like every year, every other year happen here, or about to happen because of these winds that are coming, and it's the winter time, which tells me that reservoirs that are owned by water companies could be offline or empty or not completely full, the non-state run ones. I could reach out to them and see, remember how they said that they don't have any infrastructure to store the rainwater and the record rains that they've had? You know what? What's funny? During their wildfire seasons, which seemed to be around the wintertime, around this time, which is crazy, huh? Maybe you could fill up the empty freaking reservoirs that go offline for the wintertime with that stormwater that you claimed you said you lacked the infrastructure to store. That's weird. Maybe you can, like, have maybe the water companies would take a little bit of government funding and a little bit of money to store that rainwater during the winter months in case of fires. Oh my god, guys, I just solved it all. Holy shit. In my pajamas in the living room. Oh my god, give me a job. Holy shit. You could have stored the water in offline reservoirs. Let's just say there was 3 reservoirs that were offline, that were in the area of fires. That would have helped tremendously, would it not? If they did brush clearings, taking 4 to 8 years to do a controlled burn when Santa Ana winds are predicted in a week. Look, this is an overall failure. It starts with the CAA and NEPA and all this political red tape created by Democrats that run the state. Now, and I know CAA, I know these are federal laws, but it's just the California, if they were to say, if they were to lead their state and say, these guidelines that are federally regulated and administered to us, and we need to make sure we adhere to them and everything, just like they said, wildfire smoke gets leniency from the CAA and from NEPA. I can't remember if it was both or just one. Either way, so the wildfire smoke gets a pass. But if you do controlled burns, you don't get a pass. How smart is that? What type of political red tape is that? If we do these controlled burns that will be much smaller on a extremely small scale and it's bad and everything, you're not allowed to do that. But whenever you don't do that and the wildfires start and it completely engulfs the entire state and all of that pollution goes into the air, we'll let that slide. But those controlled burns that would stop that mega dump of pollution into the air, we can't let you do that because it's like bad for the air. You don't make sense. And politicians that are in charge have allowed that to create a little weird loophole and a little firestorm of nonsense. Excuse the pun, but my God, it just came out. This is disgusting. The Democrats are completely on the chopping block. I need to hear phone calls. I need to hear internal memos or emails saying, "Yeah, we reached out to this water company, that water company. We've reached out to every reservoir in the state, even the non-state run ones, to see if there's anywhere we can store stormwater this winter." Have you ever even tried? Have you ever thought of it? No, because according to Whoopi Goldberg, 1,000,000 buildings went up in fire at the same exact time. It wasn't like the Palisades fire started first at 10:30 in the morning, whatever day that was, and then it spread from there, and other fires started in other areas, and I know that. But in the end, this is who runs California? Democrats. Who leads California? Democrats. Are there federal laws and things like that that are causing issues with the brush clearing and the fires? Yep. That stuff's happening, but you have to cut through that stuff. You have to do it before there's an emergency, and that's why you fail. Get mad at me and tell me about it in the comments. Hey, I need you to do things. Press those buttons. I'll see you in a couple seconds. Bye-bye.
Every single reservoir was filled and ready to go.
Hey, you know where the wildfire started in the Palisades? That reservoir was empty and offline. What do you think about that?
That's why I started an investigation into that. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I was about to look into that. Ma'am, I'm literally on the phone with the president now. I called him 5 times. He will take my calls. I just don't have service. I gotta go. Anderson Cooper, what do you have for me?
Hey, why are these fire hydrants empty?
I'm a local official.
You tell me. And I forgot the final one is the reservoirs are all full.
The state ones, I meant.
The regular reservoirs that were exactly located where the wildfire started, those don't belong to us. That's not my fault. Why did those water companies do that? That's crazy. They let them be empty when we warned them of wildfires. Why'd they do that? That's crazy. They should probably get in trouble for that. That's what I'm saying. I launched an investigation to find out why they did that. Did I call them and find out if we could put water there, store them for the water? Dude, listen, I'm not in trouble at all. This is on them. Does someone run this state? Someone should be in charge of everything, and they could have coordinate this emergency defenses and stuff like that. Say what? That's me. Damn. Whoopi Goldberg. That's funny. You guys are funny. Are you mad yet? Be mad. Hey, Whoopi Goldberg, and all you Democrats and all you people that are defending, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm in my 40s. I was born. I'm in my 40s. Okay? Do you want to know how I know that it's their fault that this wildfire went absolutely nuts and it does so? And every time there's a wildfire, it's specifically their fault. Do you want to know how I know that? It's because I've been being told that my entire life. My entire life, I've been indoctrinated and propagated to know that only you can prevent forest fires. I mean, are you kidding me? Whoopi Goldberg is older than me, and she said when these things happen, there's nothing that could have been done. There's nothing you can do, nothing to prevent it. Nothing can be done. The only thing you can do now is say, what can I do to help? Whoopi Goldberg, you're older than me. You've been seeing this commercial longer than me. Let's revisit it. How come it's their fault? Because we've been being told it our whole lives, except for now. Now it's different.
It only takes a careless moment to turn this into this. Don't let forest fires be your fault. Make sure your fire is dead out. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires. Remember, only
A Green New Deal, a carbon tax, and giving the government billions and trillions of dollars
can prevent forest fires.